Okay, so this time we're gonna find out the inverse function of sine and cosine. Okay, so I'm gonna just make another unit circle first and then just confirm the basic key value of sine and cosine value here. So now this is the 30, 60, 91. So this coordinate become root 3 over 2 comma 1 over 2. Of course this will be 1 comma 0 by the way. This is the 1 over 2 and then root 3 over 2 and 0 comma 1, negative 1 over 2 comma root 3 over 2 and negative root 3 over 2 comma 1 over 2, negative 1 comma 0, negative root 3 over 2 comma negative 1 over 2, negative 1 over 2 comma negative root 3 over 2, 0 comma negative 1, 1 over 2, negative root 3 over 2, and then root 3 over 2, and then negative 1 over 2, and go back to 1, 0 here. So, these all x value, they are cosine value here, right? And then, all these are sine value. And then, as you know, the maximum value is, oops, I just circled this one twice externally. So the green one is always the cosine value, and then as you see, all the value is between 1 and negative 1, and sine as well. Okay, so based on this, I'm gonna draw sine first. So basically, this direction is positive sine x, this direction is negative sine x here. So I may draw this one more like center, and this is the key point is this one, and this one, and this one, this one, and then again here. So 1, negative 1, and then pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi, negative pi over 2, negative pi, negative 3 pi over 2, and then negative 2 pi like this. Okay. So it begins with 0, as you see here, and then 1, and 0, and negative 1, 0, and negative side also become negative 1, 0, 1, 0. So if I connect them, and it looks like this. Okay, then now, so based on this, what will be domain value here? So I only show between negative 2 pi to 2 pi, but it keeps on moving like this and it keeps on moving like that. So as you see, domain will be all real number. What are the range? So y is always fluctuate between 1 and negative 1. So negative 1 and 1 will be its range value here. Okay. Then let's start drawing cosine functions graph. So I can set up pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi, negative side also, negative pi over 2, negative pi, negative 3 pi over 2, and negative 2 pi here. Okay, and then 1 and negative 1. So as you see this unit circle, the cosine value start from the 1. Okay, so I can plot the point 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1. This value also 0, negative 1, 0, 1. So this graph looks like this here. Okay, of course it keeps on going both right direction and the left direction. Therefore this also domain becomes all real numbers. The range becomes y is between negative 1 and 1 here. Okay, but we want to find out the inverse function here. So technically, when we talk about inverse function, then we always switch domain and range. So original domain become range, range become domain, right? So y equal to sine inverse x. This case, we can say domain is x is between negative 1 and 1, but so far range is all real numbers. However, if it is an all real number, then what's going to happen? So I just briefly drew this picture. Please remember that this is not accurate though. Somehow it become like this, right? But is it function? It's not, because I just want choose one random x. Then there are many point repeat here, since each x value must have only one corresponding y value. Range cannot have a real number or real number. If it is so, then it is not a function. So we have to find out some range. We can kind of make it as a function. So when you look at here, center on this origin point, we can make this one limited. Then we can say it is kind of function. Otherwise the value can continue, so we cannot say that. So we only take out this range. So this range here, so that everything makes sense here. Okay, so I'm gonna draw the inverse sine function graph above here. Then first of all, domain is negative 1 and 1, and the range, as you see, negative pi over 2 and then pi over 2. So whenever inverse function, we can actually using original sine x graph and find the value. So when x was negative pi over 2, it was negative 1, so it corresponding right here, and then pi over 2 and then 1. So I can, and then 0 and 0. So I can conjecture graph looks like this. Okay, so that is the sine inverse x graph. Okay, now cosine one. So I'm going to go down here again. So this case, of course, it may be better we choose same interval with sine, but sine was we choose negative pi and pi over 2, right? But this time, if we choose, what happened? When you switch that and then become, we choose that, graph looks like somehow this, right? So it's not a function basically. So we cannot choose this range. So we have two choices here. You can find out maybe this one or this one. But if we choose, then we prefer choosing positive side. It doesn't mean you cannot choose negative side, but normally if we want to moving gear toward to right side rather than left side. Therefore, we choose this range instead here. Okay. Then when we do the graph here, so y equal to cosine inverse x graph. Domain is x, -1 and 1, but range this time y is 0 and 1 instead, right? Okay, then let's do the graph right here. So -1, 1, 0 and, oh actually sorry, it's pi, 0 and pi right here, and then the pi over 2 may locate here, and then as you know, when it was pi over 2, the value will be 0, and pi then -1, 0 and 1 here. So I can conjecture graph looks like this will be the cosine inverse function graph. Okay.